All right, can you hear me now? Because now my OBS is telling me that there's audio. Awesome. So as I was saying for a couple of minutes before I realized no one was hearing anything at all, that my wife and I watched the mass this morning through the Institute of Christ the King online through their stream on the out of Detroit. It's a beautiful mass, and every year I always forget that the gospel reading for Palm Sunday and the liturgy in general is a lot longer than usual. Clearly, it's the Passion that they're reading, at least today in the traditional Latin Mass. The priest gave a beautiful homily, and he didn't, do what is typically done in the traditional Mass, which is giving doing the chanting the gospel and the epistle in the Latin, and then reading them in the vernacular at his homily before giving his homily, because they're just so long he can't do that. But I was noticing that people, I don't know if you've noticed this if you've been watching masses online, but people are it feels like a lot of people that I've talked to are losing, like, not a sense of the sacred, but it's easy to lose a sense of the sacred in the moment when just watching it on TV, or certainly not assisting at the mass the way we should be. And it's a very just sort of disturbing thing, really, how we're, I don't know. I'm hoping that this all, that people come to their senses soon, because a lot of places seem to be leveling out now with this problem, and there are now people pointing out that a lot of these medical experts didn't really know what they were talking about, or had shady past. So I'm hoping that people come to their senses with this, and we have, we start coming up with a plan to get people back in the pews and back to work, some way that's safe and logical. I don't know. I don't know how much longer people can do this, streaming mass online thing without really losing a sense of the sacred by just watching it. It's not the same watching as it is being there in person to participate. Even I'd imagine what it would be like to do that in your car, honestly. Yeah, I think that there's a, anybody is thinking that there's a lot of distractions by watching it at home. That's true. I've noticed that when my wife and I go to do our rosary, that's when my cat chooses to harass me. I don't know why that is. Maybe cats really are evil. I don't know. I kind of wish I had a paywall subscription to Catholic Herald, although I don't want to give them money because they've kind of gone problematic, if you want to call it that. But apparently Pope Francis yesterday gave a homily about sin. Like real sin. Like, I want to know what's going on, because that seems strange to me. Like, a lot of us are starting to notice that maybe he's coming to his senses about some things. We're giving a case in point here. It was reported that the miraculous crucifix he used in his Ubi et Orbi address last week was destroyed. Well, I saw online that wasn't true at all. It was damaged a little bit, but it wasn't destroyed. It didn't explode like some people said it was. I saw a picture of it from a parish today, where it was fine. They'd already fixed it. But I'm just wondering if he's his giving a homily about sin is because of the everything going on. What are your guys' thoughts on things going on about about Palm Sunday? In my area, there were some priests who were saying that between a specific time of day, you can come and get your blessed palm fronds if you wanted. But of course, that place was like 70 miles from me or something. For those of you commenting about the Vicar of Christ thing, see me tomorrow. I've got it's my video for tomorrow. It's already made. It'll go live tomorrow morning. It'll go live at middle of the night time for me, so just wait for that. I go over it a little bit. And most people aren't aware that Vegan responded to it already, so I'll have that for you tomorrow. But It's really bizarre times we're living in because he does that. And then I've got a story here, apparently, that the Catholic Church will fall if Benedict is not halted, whatever that means. It's weird because it's published today, so I'll have to give that a look later. Maybe that'll be a video for later in the week. See somebody talking about in the comments about the cashless society and forcibly vaccinate everybody. Well, see me Tuesday. I've already got my video planned for that day. A lot of you have been emailing me information about some crazy things going on in the culture, about certain people advocating for some really mark of the beast level crap. Pardon the language, but it's not, the only way I could say anything stronger about it would be to actually curse. But it's an appropriate word for what they're doing, and I've got already working on my thing. I'd been working on my thing for Tuesday, so watch for that. It's almost like we're seeing all the really weird things that people said that Christians were paranoid for believing was coming. We're watching it all play out right now at the very earliest stages. And I'm hoping that this is just, a dry run and not, the main event. Not sure I'm ready for that. Has anybody been having trouble with when trying to live stream masses, noticing that some websites are like crashing? I had read that article that went around about priests saying that there was demonic oppression was on the rise given everything going around. That one priest was talking about how he had to say like 3 or 4 masses in a day just to get one of them to live stream. Because, once he starts saying the mass, he can't really stop. So if, the internet goes out, he still has to say the mass. So he ends up saying like 3 or 4 masses that day. But, a lot of these priests are reporting widespread increase in demonic oppression, just evil activity in general, but specifically the demonic. I'm wondering if anybody is aware. I'm going to see if I can find that piece again, because I had it, but, I think Bishop or Monsignor Bucks or Books or whatever came out again and made another statement. Yeah, he did. That both sins within the church as well as the sins of the world are the root of the current crisis and its effect on the daily life of Catholics. He calls what we're going through a chastisement from God for the failure of the bishops. There's a lot coming out over the weekend right now. And it's nice that we're having at least a handful of our shepherds are aware of what's going on and aware of the real gravity of things. I saw that somebody in the comments, I think it was Teresa, asked if priests have to obey bishops for not permitting the sacraments. Well, Father Ripperger says that priests have an obligation to give sacraments to the dying, regardless of what their bishop says. Maybe to answer your question, I'll just read part of this for you. Exorcist and theologian Father Chad Ripperger says priests are under an obligation to give the sacraments to Catholics in imminent danger of death, regardless of what their bishop says. With Catholics in turmoil and anguish over unprecedented bans on confession, cancellation of public masses, and the locking of churches as the pandemic continues, LifeSite News asked Father Ripperger about losing access to the sacraments, including confession and even last rites, and how to respond in these times. There is a full interview here. So, LifeSite asked him, what do you think of the bishop suspending confession? And Father Ripperger responds, I think that the fact that in some dioceses they've shut down confession altogether is unnecessary. And I'm not an expert, obviously, on the bug, but some dioceses, which I think are doing the right thing, the priest will sit in the confessional, you don't have face-to-face fashion, and you just simply make it available to people at certain times so that people can actually get to confession. So I think that's the best way to do it, given the circumstances. I don't think it's necessary to shut it down completely. LifeSite asks him to explain perfect contrition, to which he says, historically, the saints and authors and even the church, they always say it's an extraordinary grace. It's not commonly given. It's also not something you can muster up on your own. And the primary reason for that is because you have to be sorry purely because it offends God. You can't be sorry because you might end up in hell for some other natural reason. So that's why they've always said it was very hard in order to get an act of perfect contrition. And obviously, because it's an extraordinary grace, it's something that God gives to somebody, and then from there, they're able to make it. LifeSite asks him, do you think we can assume God will be granting this extraordinary grace if you can't get to confession? And how are Catholics best to respond to this? Should they be calling their priests and their bishops? Or do they say, okay, God will send me the extraordinary grace of perfect contrition? He responds, I think if a bishop is open to hearing from the lay people, they should say something. But I think a lot of bishops that have pretty much cut it off are probably not very open to it. Do I think God is going to give more of that grace? I do think that he's probably more likely to give it more frequently, but it's still an extraordinary grace, so it's not going to be as common as people would like to think. I think the main thing is don't fall into mortal sin. That's the primary thing. Just make sure you always stay in a state of grace. And in a case like that, even imperfect contrition can remit venial sin. So that way they can make acts of contrition. Historically, they also recommended doing an examination of conscience before you go to bed each night, and then making an act of contrition at the end. And that would suffice for the remission of venial sin. And that doesn't mean that later, when the confessions are more available, you wouldn't confess those. It's a pretty good indicator of the way the church has always talked. They still remitted those under those circumstances. So I'm going to put this in the chat so you can look at it. It's in the chat now. If I'm confused by Francis, count my blessings. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen somebody say the SSPX are still having masses. It depends where you are for them. I've seen some places they're having masses still, other places they're definitely not, that they've shut things down. I would imagine it has to do with the situation there and their relationship with the bishop. They're not, in conflict with their bishop everywhere they go. So, I don't even know how the SSPX are in my own state. Let's see. Let's see, what is he? I'm just trying to check here to see what he says about. So let's see, LifeSite. So the main point is that when death is imminent, that's when priests should go out of their way. Their duty is to minister the sacraments in the final hours. Whereas as far as confession suspensions go, if you are in the state of mortal sin but physically healthy, you should just endure it. Father Ripperger says, yes, exactly, you're just going to have to wait. But they petition God. St. Thomas asked the question, does God hear the prayers of sinners? And by that he means people who are in a state of mortal sin. And he says, no, he doesn't, because there's no basis of merit. However, he said if it's necessary for the person's salvation, God will hear the person's prayers. Now, how do we know that to be the case? The way that we know it is that God will give the person an actual grace to continue to ask him for the actual grace to get back into the state of grace. So they should continue praying and asking him and make sure they're not continuing to commit any mortal sins. And then God will provide for them when the time comes. Also, in the interview, he said basically it sounds like if you have just a devotion to going to confession, probably don't if you have access because of the burden. Go if you need to, but don't, just because you're in a habit of going every week. So is anybody here? I don't know, noticing what I was mentioning earlier, though, with the strange sort of like separation but when watching the Mass on the internet than when you're actually participating, because I don't know, it's really hard to really describe, but it's just, I don't want to say it doesn't seem real, but it's definitely not the same. Let's see what the daily readings were. So here I am looking at looking at the readings for today. They were ridiculously long, and I can see why. I'm looking at the propers for today. Question from a member. What does he have? Let's go. Oh, well, thank you for joining the channel, Pascal. Glad to have you on board. And seeing right below your there, the comment from Dean Barker saying it's so weird the SSPX has gotten way closer to canonical regularity under Francis, but traditional Catholicism has grown in opposition to the church hierarchy. Welcome to the diabolic disorientation that has entered the church. Enjoy your stay. And that whole situation that you're referring to is why there are some in the traditionalist movement who now think that the SSPX are compromised. It's not a position I hold to, but they do think that they become essentially compromised and that they can't be trusted. Again, not a position I hold to, but it is one that some people say. There's going to be a new right, the internet right. Yeah. Let's hope we don't find ourselves there. I'll tell you guys it's the same thing I say that I've got in my script for my video about later in the week about some of the really weird stuff people have been emailing me about. I'll be doing a video later in the week where I'll be talking about a video I did some months ago that I turned out to be wrong about, and it's not like a big news thing like, Pope did bad thing I was wrong about. No, it was an opinion I had where I was suspicious of something. That's all I'm going to say now, but watch for it later in the week. I think you'll enjoy it. It'll be kind of weird to write that script when I do it, but it'll be fun to go over this topic again because in light of everything that's happened since, we'll could definitely have some fun talking about things. Flying Mushroom asks what's wrong with the SSPX. I don't know. Some people don't like them. There are people who think they're in schism, even though the Vatican doesn't say they're in schism. Mass, what do I think of Putin? Is he really nationalist? He's a Russian nationalist. I tend to think he might still be a crypto Soviet, though. Any potential for him to convert to the true religion? Sure. If people pray fast enough for it, and if it's God's will, sure. I don't trust the Russians. The Russians and the Chinese were doing war games with each other back in 2018. So, and the war games they were playing were designed for a war with the United States. So, yeah. And if you read if you know enough about what Catholic prophecy about our times, then you wouldn't trust them either. I don't trust Putin. And while I don't buy the Russian conspiracy theories that that our betters in the political establishment were pushing all year. I don't. I at least understand where they were coming from, but I don't. It was clear that they were lying. Yeah, I think with what Father Ripperger was saying about not being, your prayers aren't heard, I think it's still a good idea to stay in prayer, just to keep praying, even if if for no other reason but than out of love for God. It'll probably, at the very least, help your repentance, right? I hope you actually be truly repentant for your sins as you get to confession. You should always keep praying, and I say that as someone who, when I need to go to confession, my prayer life begins to wither. My devotion to the rosary doesn't typically wither, but a lot of my other prayers do. So it's easy to say, but harder to do, Oh, let's see. Actually, what I was hoping to do was find some good news stories to talk about, but I have to find any good news stories first, because there aren't a lot of good news stories, and I don't know why that is. I'm reading the diocesan newspaper website for the archdiocese that I live in, and they're promoting a podcast, which is okay. Then they talking about a hotline for abuse victims. That's not good news per se. Yeah, there's like a lack of good news right now. And that's kind of sad, honestly. So you look like, go to the Portland one, Catholic Sentinel, where some of the bishops remind you that Jesus' Sacred Heart is open for you despite everything going on. Yeah, even like you go to the establishment, like the establishment of the establishment media outlets, and it's very little good news. It's really kind of sad. Paulus, I don't agree. I don't disagree that I think the U.S. is going to be ground zero for whatever chastisement comes, and I really breaks my heart knowing that as an American, I'll have to, live through at least part of it before I die, just because I think it's going to be bad. I think our future, our near future is going to be more characterized by not terribly good sides warring against each other before God intervenes in some way. If anybody's got a good news story, put it in the chat. I'm definitely looking for a good news story. I'll repeat the one that I saw earlier. The miraculous crucifix that Francis had at his Ubi et Orbi was not destroyed. It did not explode. It was just damaged a little bit. Those reports were erroneous. It's apparently been fixed, or is on its way to getting fixed, but it'll be fine. That is good news. It's a relic of the church, and it should be treated with respect. But yeah, I'm hoping to find good news because it's Palm Sunday. I'd like to have some good news, right? Somebody just says, look up some good news. Well, that depends. Let's see what the Google machine says is good news. Oh, the goodnewsnetwork.org. That's the first thing that comes up. The New England Patriots send its team jet to deliver 1.2 million N95 masks from China to Boston and New York City hospitals. There's been an astonishing failure rate of any of those Chinese-made emergency response things, and we've seen footage of people sabotaging them in the factories there. So I don't know if that's good news or not. Apparently, Irish researchers have developed a hospital robot that uses UV light to kill viruses, bacteria, and germs. Okay. Yeah, the thing is, like, there just isn't that many good news stories right now. I don't know. I bought some coffee from Mike Church's website. I'll probably do a review of it. It's roasted by monks. Yes, Google account, that's true. All religious services in the state of Texas have been deemed essential. Now, will the bishops agree? I almost wonder if they're just wanting a vacation at this point, at least the ones in places like that. Because not every state in the union has banned religious gatherings. Mel Gibson was really working on the Resurrection movie. He really was. I saw an interview with, saw part of an interview with Jim Caviezel, who says he's wowed by it. Doctor Who 1980. No, it wasn't the SSPX monastery. It was his. I mean, it might have been. I don't know where it's from. It's the I ordered the Abbey roast. 2 different kinds of his Abbey roast. I'll probably do a really chill, relaxed live stream after Lent ends because one of the things I gave up for Lent was coffee. Not all caffeine, but coffee. And so I'm looking forward to having a nice cup of coffee on Easter Sunday. I do wonder if anybody agrees with this concept of mine here, that we should maybe continue some of our Lenten sacrifices during the after Lent in some way as additional penances for everything going on. Living Purgatory, if you want to email me a link to that approved Catholic visionary, I'd love to know more. Suzanne Guillo, what happened to Mel Gibson's movie? Probably it's on hold, like everything else in Hollywood, but the Passion follow-up is apparently still in the works. I am working on having a guest on in 2 weeks. It'll be a new guest, somebody that I haven't had on before, or multiple guests. So check in, make sure to tune in when that happens. I plan to do these Sunday streams until at least through until we're back and being able to go to Mass. They'll be at roughly this time of day. Although after that, we'll see what happens. Again, I go to Mass 90 miles from my house. I could probably hop on stream afterwards, but Google, you need to watch all the We Were Warned videos. Yeah, I'm gonna I plan to make a playlist of them. Probably in the coming days, I'll do it while I'm, taking breaks between revising the book I'm writing. Yes, could you Living Purgatory again? You can email me that a link, or at least the person's name if you know it, or a link. That would be very helpful. I'm sure some of you guys have heard about there was an Irish Catholic church was permitting Saracens to have their prayers in the Catholic church. That's only like 10 or 11 miles from Knock, from the shrine in Knock. And when they did that, they were doing some of the prayers they were doing were the traditional prayers of conquest over Christian territory. So if you haven't heard about that, it's spectacular. The Passion of the Christ is on Prime. I should probably make sure my wife and I watch that this week at some point. I work on Good Friday. Thankfully, it's a short shift, but working my side job around food is going to be annoying on Good Friday. I'll offer it up or something, but still. I read Jamie Gonzalez. I read in regard to what you're saying. I read one theory that Spain and that Italy and France are getting hit the hardest because of their special status with the church and how just faithless they've become. Who knows? Only God knows, though. Pascal asks if you're already a patron on here, how can you transfer that info to your actual webpage? If you mean like early access things that supporters get, I do. I post it in a way for the channel members as well that you'll see. So don't worry about that. If you have any further questions, shoot me an email though. But don't worry, you'll get access to you'll get the early access videos when they come up too. In fact, if you want, go check the community section right now, and you'll see some of the member only things. Living Purgatory says Visionary said massive forces waiting to come out in the U.S. Yeah, look at again. I tell people to look at Alois Erlmeyer and what he said, and there was some other there's some analysis from some Protestant groups. They're not using prophecy or visions or anything. They're just using foreign intelligence assets that have leaked information about things that that Putin and others are planning, and it's not good. It's going to be I suspect we're in for a very rough decade here in the world, but especially the United States. Colin McManaman, I'm one of the few who did not like Paul Apostle of Christ. I liked Jim Caviezel in it, and I liked whoever the actor was who played St. Paul, but I didn't actually like the movie. I liked their scenes together, but I didn't actually like the movie much. Well, hello back to you, Savage. Happy Palm Sunday. I agree. As we get into as we get into the as we draw close to Good Friday, remember that there are days of fasting and penance coming up. The name of the guy I mentioned, Paulus, is Alois Erlmeyer, Alois. You can go to my channel and do a search for his first name. I plan to do a follow-up soon on it because it's actually very, very relevant right now. Let's see. Miepnik, I want to say thank you for posting your videos. You're a Latin Catholic, but you live in Denmark. You and your videos make me really think about Scripture and keep me. Well, I'm glad to have been. Always glad to help in any way that I can with people, and I'm always appreciative when people send me messages like that because there are times where I just get either burned out or very depressed doing what I do, and so it helps. Optimistic. If you want to send me an email about Comic C 2019, I'd like to know because I did some research about those asteroids coming into the system, and nothing really happened with those. Teresa Nelson watched that. The Alois Erlmeyer, was he ever considered to be blessed? I think he was, but I'm not sure. A lot of those kind of visionaries from that period are going to have a hard time with their canonization process in general because of the just the shift in tone after the council. A lot of visionaries who warned of doom and gloom aren't going to be getting taking all that seriously. Although in some cases they were. What can you do if you can't make it to Mass? Have your candles and benedictions scape they're blessed. I would go find a traditional priest and talk to them, see what your options are. And by traditional priest, I mean someone who really does really believe in the 3 days of darkness and all of those things. That's what I would do. Let's go find. I mean, as long as they're validly ordained, you should be fine. Just go. You need to do some research. They're out there. I wouldn't call myself middle ground. A Google account. I just, compared to some others, I suppose I am. I hold back a lot because I know that I'm probably wrong. So, Scott Walsh, yes, there is a sequel to The Passion of the Christ in the works. Yes, the Vatican still does own and operate the Arizona Observatory. They've been watching the skies for a long time, which is very fascinating to me. Yeah, Paulus, I like Malachi Martin, but he wasn't right about everything. He wasn't right about the timing of things, and I don't think he was right about John Paul II's sort of secret mission or secret personal mission to, sort of, unite the world's faiths or something against Antichrist. Pascal, I don't know how to get a Candlemas blessings on candles when there are no TLM priests in your city. Some Novus Ordo priests do say that, but usually for them, their Candlemas is observed usually in a daily mass. It was on the regular Sunday mass this year, but it just moves. But every year at my fraternity parish, they do the Candlemas blessing the Sunday of. What about the whole Planet X thing? I don't really buy into Planet X, but I don't think negatively of people who do. It's just not something I necessarily buy into. But I'm willing to be wrong on that if people have good evidence. I just think at this point somebody would have pictures of it if it's coming in. CF Hewling, that's exactly actually my problem with that movie is someone says told me they mentioned Peter in it, but I don't remember it, and I was watching for it. But again, I could be wrong. Apparently, though, the producers of that movie are Catholic, so it could be they're just trying to cater to as broad a Christian audience as possible. Jamajo, prayers for Jamajo and his wife who have the thing that should not be, but they don't have a severe case of it, so they're recovering. Barnabas New. Wow. Okay, I see the name that possibly that African visionary. So I'm going to just take a look at them for the future. Just bookmark it now. Have I read the book The Warning of Christine Watkins? I've never read it. I've never heard of it. Living Purgatory, yeah, but are they actually pictures or are they like computer generated images? That's what I want to know. Like, are they real or are they like, because I've seen things that people have sent me that they swore was real and I looked at it and could tell immediately it was CGI. Like, I'm not really fooled by CGI much. I had somebody trying to convince me that the 3 Days of Darkness would be this coming Thursday. I'm always suspicious when people think that they can predict these things. And I would never predict something like that, especially if it was that close, because probably would be wrong. Well, we've got a couple new patrons. Thank you if you are listening. Thank you for joining us. It is appreciated right now. How efficacious is live stream adoration of Mass? Well, you don't have. Apparently, the bishops have waived your obligation for Sunday Mass. I don't know how legal or illicit it is for them to do that, but they've waived it. So, in terms of graces, I would personally, I'm suspect of graces. As I was saying when I started, I'm noticing, piety just withering during these watching Mass on the television or on the internet. And I've spoken with other people who are experiencing the same. It's just definitely not the same. Jamie Gomez, why do they do that? Why did Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons get so heavily criticized? Because it was anti-Catholic propaganda, that's why. There's almost nothing in those movies or books that are true. They're designed to, it's almost like they're designed to attack the faith. I don't give the author enough credit to have done that on purpose per se, but it doesn't put the church in a good light. Well, Colin, thank you for the super chat, Colin. It is appreciated. Living Purgatory says it's a live video. I'll look. I'll take a look, see if I can find it. TS Nook 2, I doubt it. I doubt the 3 Days of Darkness are coming this week. I think we've got a long time to go. Well, so I'm seeing multiple Nick Thomas channels, and none of them look promising. So they're all like would-be pop singers. So let's see, planets and binary star sightings. Okay, maybe I found it, but let's take a look. I'm just gonna do the tacky thing while doing a live stream and do a search for what you're talking about. Now I found it, but it says he's seen through a telescope. I'll have to look at it later. Optimistic one. You find it interesting that Art Bell co-wrote The Coming Global Superstorm, which was made into The Day After Tomorrow. Do I think Father Malachi Martin shared the third secret with him? No, I don't think he shared the third secret with him. He says he took an oath not to share it. That there were a couple things that could make him share it, but I don't think he shared it with Malachi Martin. Malachi Martin shared it with Art Bell. Doodle Noodle, I agree. That's also one of the things, like, I take, I do prudent steps to prepare, but Jesus said, don't worry about tomorrow. Today is enough worry of its own. Yeah, and I think that's true. You should take prudent steps to just prepare yourselves because we do have duties to others. But at the end of the day, 3 Days of Darkness, when it comes, it comes. It's, if these, if the purple scapular and other things are, heaven sent, then then clearly we're supposed to adopt them. But that doesn't mean, be scary. Don't be scared all the time. Liz the Biz, any arguments against Pentecostalism? Yeah, it's not Catholic. If you mean charismatic Catholicism, a lot of the exorcists don't have anything nice to say about it. They really don't. Especially the speaking in tongues stuff. A lot of them, the exorcists who tend to speak multiple languages usually report very disturbing things. I think it's either Father Isaac Marie Ralia or Father Chad Ripperger have spoken extensively about this, about the things that people have said in tongues when they think they're praying in tongues. Usually it's blasphemies against our Lord and Our Lady. Sean Livington, are we going to get a warning before the 3 days of darkness? I think the Marie Julie Jehani video I just did implies that heavily. I'm also very highly amused right now that apparently Protestants are taking an interest in the 3 days of darkness, judging from the comments I'm getting from Protestants who are, doing their usual "come out of her, my people" nonsense that requires me to ban them. But people watching the Mass on live stream in their pajamas with beers and pizzas like it's a football game. My wife and I actually got dressed for Mass when we did it. Paulus Magnus Maximus. In one of those Da Vinci Code movies, there is this really funny scene where the cardinals are walking into the Vatican for some reason looking all sinister and smoking cigars. Was kind of funny, to be honest. Anti-Catholic propaganda is usually pretty funny in a really kind of sad way. If you don't believe me, go read some Chick tracks sometime. They're ridiculously funny. My favorite is probably the Vatican supercomputer one, because these guys actually believe the Vatican has a supercomputer in it with the name of every Protestant in it so that they can round them all up and put them into FEMA camps or something. I'm not even joking. It's a hilarious comic. You should go look up the Chick tract for the Vatican supercomputer. Jeep Guy says we would see a giant crucifix in the skies. A warning of 3 days of darkness is near. That, I mean, in theory, that's what it's supposed to be. Some sort of obvious sign from heaven that will probably also have like some sort of illumination of conscience to tell you where you stand. It gives you time to prepare to essentially, get right with God before the chastisement. Did I see Kenneth Copeland blowing out? I think I saw that. I didn't know if I saw it, but I saw references to it. He's one of those, televangelist grifter types that I have a sort of, I find sadly funny whenever I see him come in the news. This Easter, again, I never give time frames. The only time frame I'll ever give you is in the future video. I'll talk about the time frame Sister Lucia gave us. And that's why I just think we're in for a rough year and a rough decade. Is Q a psyop? No comment on QAnon. I'm not, other than to say that I don't follow. Venerable Father Francis Lieberman, a French Jewish man who converted to the one true faith. Pray to him to help the Jews convert. I have not heard of him. If you want to email me about him, just put his name in the subject line. I've got a lot of emails. I managed to get from over 100 to about 60 about a week ago, and I'm already back to near 100 again. Chris McWilliams, during the 3 days of darkness, do we need 100% beeswax or just more than 50% beeswax candles? That's the great debate. I recommend pure beeswax, just to be safe. I bought mine on Amazon. They were pure beeswax. I think they were sold by hippies. So, Copenhagen looks like a rat. Father Ripperger mentioned the demonically oppressed can actually take on the likeness of rats. I have not heard that. Let's see. Member of the channel says, I saw a number of people calling for restoration of the Mass. I was weirded out by the name, "We are an Easter people," when I listened to the homily from the priest of St. Joan of Arc. I've heard the description of us as Easter people. I would want to know how far back that declaration goes. That sort of that mindset goes. Obscure and brave. Yeah, I'm not a Medjugorje person at all. That's one of the reasons I don't follow. I have been exposed to quasi-charismatic and charismatic Catholicism, and I am not a fan. It's always just struck me as very creepy. Yeah, Colin, is the Malachi Martin documentary "Hostage the Devil" is it favorable, at least fair to him? There's a lot of like propaganda out there about him. People, people talk about how don't take seriously his the repentance for his past sins that he may have had. Most people don't know that he had been a fairly typical liberal Jesuit apparently, and then went to go research and write his book "Hostage to the Devil," which required him to be firsthand at several exorcisms, and it completely just flipped his understanding of Catholicism to the Malachi Martin that you know, which probably made him then reflect back on the Third Secret of Fatima. It probably made him take that seriously. Have I read what the Pope said today for Palm Sunday, Teresa? No, I have not, because the only transcript I've seen is on the Catholic Herald, and it's now a paywall website, which is extremely irritating. Anna Colleen says it's Ripperger who was the one who talks about speaking in tongues. Yes, go find that if you want to go see it. Just go to YouTube, search Father Ripperger, Charismatic Catholicism. If you wear the brown scapular, why would you get a purple one? The purple one has specific things that come with it. You should look more into the purple scapular. There's nothing that says you can only wear one. The green scapular is always a fun one to me, actually. You don't wear one. As I understand it, you get it blessed and then you plant it somewhere in someone's house that you're hoping will convert. We just lost what I said about a warning from Marie Julie Johanny. She said something about how there would be a sign in the sky or something. Did I used to be Protestant? Nope, I was a high-functioning agnostic. Do I believe in the Nostradamus prophecies? I don't follow any prophecies from anybody that the church did not, at least, if not approve, at least not condemn. And Nostradamus did not get did not get approval from the church, we'll say. Pascal says chick tracks are a meme. They are, but they're delightful. Now, Living Purgatory, are you talking about are you and Google accounts talking about how foreign military are often invited into the United States to play war games with the U.S. military? Because that's actually gone on for at least the entirety of the Cold War. AW, all religions are dear to my son, the gospel at Major Kooky. Yeah, that's the giveaway, because that's universalism, and universalism is a heresy. If you ever want to test the veracity of an alleged apparition, just look for heresy. Thomas Keller does say the Mormons have do have a supercomputer of sorts. Yeah, they do. They apparently are keeping track of like ridiculous amounts of human data. I have heard, but I can't confirm, that they have the that they're one of the groups behind the 23andMe, the DNA mapping stuff. Paulus Magnus Maximus. The funniest anti-Catholic slide ever was some Protestant talking about how satanic Jesuits couldn't even be nuked, referring to the Jesuits who survived the nuking of Japan. Yeah, but I think that had more to do with a divine grace from God to protect them, to be witnesses or something, than how, like, they were protected by the devil. Yeah. What was my opinion on Luz de Maria from Revoluciones Marianas? Never heard of her. You email me about some information if you would like. Are Elijah and Enoch and Eden? No idea. Many talk about the rapture. The rapture is not a Catholic idea. The rapture is one of those things that Protestants invented in the 19th century, like quite literally. Dean Baker, no one ever talks about how John the 23rd repented of Vatican II on his death, but that's because I think the only account I've ever heard of that was from Malachi Martin. But if you know of a print source for that, I'd like to know it. Scurrying Brev, you sent me a message on Facebook about the conversion of the Jewish nation and kinship of Christ. Apparently I'm lagging now. Did I read Dr. Chanowski's report on Sister Lucy? I have not read Dr. Chanowski's report. I'm not sure who Dr. Chanowski is. Katie Kolodsky, did I see the news of a massive green-haloed comet? No. If you'd like to email me about that, that's interesting. I am looking for material for my end days, end times watch video that I do every other Saturday or so. So send me an email with that if you see it. Cisco's gives just basic good life advice regarding candles. Pure beeswax is much better for your lungs. Make sure not to burn cheap paraffin wax indoors. Yeah, keep the weird chemicals out of your lungs at all costs if you can. It's John Paul II who said, "We are an Easter people and Alleluia is our song." I'm just curious if there's any pre-conciliar references to being an Easter people. KPN5 lazy stream. Yeah, because I don't actually do a lot of research. I don't have a long list of topics. I just get on and I talk to people, answer some questions. On Sunday. I am planning to have I'm planning to have a couple. A guest or three in a couple weeks. So. Teresa Baker Carl asks about a comment and why Tried Cat and I talks about it. Well, Eric is one who holds to the Nibiru or Planet X hypothesis as part of the chastisement. I tend to hold more to the instrumentality of Russia as the instrument of our chastisement. So doesn't mean we could both be right though. So who knows? Since the beer bug, Darius says they felt that they had felt that they had been attacked by evil, but now it's less. A lot of priests are reporting that there's actually an increase of attacks, but maybe you bring him some sort of grace. Living purgatory. Troops in the area of North Dakota from Central and South America, he said. South American troops specifically have a history of being invited into the U.S. for war games. You should look up the School of the Americas at some point. And apparently you've had threats on your life since you were told, well... Mark Venkov says we are Good Friday people. That's my instinct, too, is that we're Good Friday people. How and where can we get blessed candles? Traditionally, it's at the candle mass in early February. You bring preferably 100% beeswax candles, and the priest will bless them either before or after the mass. Depends on how you practice it. And it's a specific blessing. Now, some people have disputed saying it can be any blessing. I have never heard that, other than that it has to be candle. That it has to be that. Okay, Dr. I'll check that email later. The Easter people thing, CF, you think is because the resurrects fixes? I really don't like those things. I dislike anything that takes our mind off of the passion of our Lord. The passion, the passion, and the price that was paid for us is on full display on any crucifix. I dislike anything that takes our mind off that. Oh. 2.3 million mile debris tail. That should be fun. At the very least, it could that Comet C 2019 could be interesting to watch. Could I do a time? Victoria Munoz, interesting. You should ask that. I'm planning in the next month or so to do, since I've been doing 2 We Were Warned videos a month now. I'm planning on doing maybe in May what the church says is the basic timeline for the end times. What has to come before the Antichrist comes? Because the church has some definitive things. It probably won't include the 3 days of darkness because those things are not part of what I would, aren't anything you're going to find if you look up like the end times in your catechism. What have I been reading for spiritual reading? Anything you see me uploading on Sundays. So I read half of Chesterton's Catholic Church and Conversion. It was available 2 weeks ago. I'll probably try to get the other half done for the week after Easter. It's just researching a lot of videos, those Sunday videos for you guys, and Saturday videos requires me to do a lot of reading. And I'm also revising my dissertation right now, which is causing also me to have to dive into a lot of reading on the spiritual side of things. Well, welcome to Peter Perlez to channel membership. Glad to have you. But yes, Victoria, I'll do a video about the timeline. I'm hoping to do that in May, but I need to do I do want to visit the, probably the next logical thing in the Third Secret of Fatima for May, because, May is one of the important months for for Fatima, of course. You think Russia has been indicated by visionaries approved by the Vatican as being the instrument? Yeah. That's why I go with it. That doesn't necessarily mean I, disagree with, have any strong opinions against the, Planet X thing. I don't. But again, I could be wrong. If I try not to make concrete predictions about the chastisement, because I feel like when you start doing that, you start taking on too much authority for yourself. 6,000, attempts. Sorry, not threats. Yes, sorry, Living Purgatory. Look up the last words of good Pope John from the Remnant. Okay, maybe if it's a transcript or something, I'll record it, or I'll do a video on it. A lot of I can't hold this head of a contest position because I don't, for a number of reasons. Like, a lot of people have problems with the canonization of John the 23rd, but if he really repented of the council, then I don't have that much, issues with him per se. And actually, if you've ever read his encyclical Moderate Magistra, it's not that bad. Obscurian Brev, in reference to your comment about the Messiah, well, it's very un-PC to say, but the Church says that the Antichrist will come from that group. That's why I'm trying to figure out how to do a video on the rebuilding of the Third Temple, because it's very, 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 very touchy. Peter, no, thank you for joining and for the support of the channel. It is appreciated, and I do appreciate the kind thoughts and, of course, the support. Optimistic One, resurrexes usually accompanied by industrial architecture, felt banners, and folk liturgy. The place I saw one most recently was at the hospital in my town. Haven't been there in a while. I'm trying to stay away. Yes, just my video tomorrow will go into that. Go into your Vicar of Christ question. How many saints or blesseds have had 3 days of darkness revelations? I don't know, but every single one of them has had people reject that they're real. Every single one of them that I've seen. Let's see. Do I have any videos or sources about the SSPX and paintings about it, as I'm sure many other people have? I have, if you just do a search for Archbishop Lefebvre's name, I have for Saturday videos an almost 5-hour book of his, The Open Letter to Confused Catholics. I recommend you look at it. So go ahead and search that on my channel. Give it time to listen to it. I read the whole thing. It was the longest video I've ever done for this channel. I have also done his consecration speeches. I do recommend the channel Vox Catholica. It is a channel of SSPX priests, and they have content there that can answer a lot of your questions for you, right from the source's mouth, as it were. I would also recommend Taylor Marshall's interview with Bishop Schneider about the status of the SSPX. It's very good. It covers everything. That's why I haven't had any problems with them in a long time. So. Pascal, it's code word. Okay. That is true, apparently, that it would be. That's what the Church has always said. Where 8907. So if anybody can hear me still, because I'm lagging. I have a video about Padre Pio on the 3 Days of Darkness. A lot of people dispute that it was real or not. I generally stand by it, even though I know it's an extremely controversial one. The 3 Days of Darkness is one of those things that it seems that authorities in the church have done a lot to reject. I'll have to go check out Roosh to see if he actually used the term tractor for that. I think that's really funny. Obscurian Brev, Jared Kushner getting power is not good. I think Jared Kushner getting power is not good just for the simple fact that no one elected him to anything. He's got far too much influence for anybody in any administration. Pascal, yeah, this. So yeah, if you can still hear me, I'm not sure what's going on. Why we're having problems, but it's just a lot of people are on the internet these days. It just is the problem. I don't know what it's. At the end of the day, it's what happens when you do the, when you've got everybody staying home watching, Netflix and things. But as to the question, the Antichrist will be born of a tractor nun. That is sort of what the church says. It's one of those un-PC things that I need to figure out how to talk about in a video, because I know if I say that in a video, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you hate these people, goose stepping, tiny mustache. And, none of that's true. Yeah, the lagging keeps coming in and out. Maybe it's me talking about Kushner. Has some nice connections to the tractor state, So, yeah. But yeah, I'll say again what I said at the beginning. Look for later this week, assuming that no major news breaks that keeps me from doing this video on the schedule I want to do it, where I do a video about something I was wrong about in the fall. And you'll enjoy it. You'll like it. Trust me. It's not like I was wrong, like, oh, Pope did bad thing, kind of, I was wrong to criticize it, but something else in light of everything we're experiencing right now. So I'm going to revisit a topic this week. It'll be interesting. If I'm wrong about something, or if I think I'm wrong, I like to, come out with it. So. See, if I think that actually happens, that it's Antichrist who does that to them. I don't know if personally or has his henchmen do it. Scurry Brev. The book you sent is extremely un-PC. Only upload to BitChute if you read it. Kathy Walsh, what's a tractor nun? Tractor is a Rushevist code word for our, what some call our elder brothers in the faith. Let's see if I can find that book, because I have so many emails. I'm at 78 emails in my inbox right now. Oh, come on. I can't see it, but I've got 78 emails, so. Father Dennis Fahey doesn't hold back. Dennis Fahey, Father Fahey was amazing though. Also, like, people should read his writings. You'll have a lot of confusion about Catholic social teaching that's being pushed by some people in the sphere of things, cleared up very quickly by Father Fahey. Let's see. Some people said they've lost all sound. Well, I'm still broadcasting sound. Mr. Joy, you're seeing they're keeping a close eye on the third temple. I think the Zionist evangelicals are going to also pay to a huge factor in ushering in the Antichrist. I kind of think so too. If you saw the news story that there are people associated with the third temple who say that is the only thing that can get rid of the thing that should not be, the thing I can't name. Screen Brev, you Facebook message. I'll have to go take a look at my messages again. Research Catholic prophecy. It seems we are in the time of the Great Tribulation. Well, I do a lot of videos on Catholic prophecy, Quare, so have a look at them. Have a look at them. I do 1 to 2 of them a month, and I've even done videos on the angelic Pope and the angelic King and the various tribulations and things. I've been doing them since practically that I started my channel. Glad to help, Sophist. What do I predict would happen after this thing ends? I think if you look at what the things that the Middle Kingdom and the Russians are doing together, and how they're getting really cozy, I think we're headed to conflict, like armed conflict. And I'm not happy to say that, because that is a global catastrophe waiting to happen, and then who knows what happens once that starts. Was Faye the one that Kennedy's ran out of Boston? He might have been. I don't know. Do I mean Father Feeney? No, Father Faye, he was someone else. Some good news. Discharges outpace hospitalizations in New York. That is legitimately good news. That is good news. All the interruptions. The feds need to get faster internet. At some point, I may start, do a middle of the night, like middle Sunday night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. stream, because no one's online at that time. Domestic crusade, Russia. Yeah, the Chinese and the Russians have been cozy. They have. Go look up the Vostok 2018 War Games. Go look that up. You can't wait for Lois Erlmeyer #2 video. Some of it will be a repeat for those who didn't see the original. For those who are wanting to see it, I can probably put a link in the chat. I can put a link up later. Cheap guy is going to send me the link. It's good. It all comes down to the messages of Fatima and Akita. It does. I think you can actually trace. You can see the logic of things going back actually to Our Lady of Guadalupe. If you want to know what the victory of the Immaculate Heart, that the triumph of the Immaculate Heart is going to look like, you get a hint of it in Our Lady of Guadalupe, going all the way through Our Lady of Revelation. You hope that we get essentially Assad on Tinople, meaning Constantinople of Turkey loses in the conflict. I just want to survive the conflict. I would absolutely love to see the triumph of the Immaculate Heart. That's one of the things I would love to see. Kimberly Young, well, thank you for sticking with me for like these 2 years now. That's great. I'm always happy when people stay. That I kept a lot of those subscribers. I did a video where I commented on something going on in Hollywood, and I got a lot of subscriptions out of it, and I think they all went away when I was doing Catholic content. Any thoughts on the Diamond Brothers? Yeah, hard pass. Hard pass on the Diamond Brothers. Hard pass. They do some interesting commentary, but I can't do the side of a contest thing. I just can't. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. I think that's how it's spelled. Forge and Anvil has a good blog post. Laramie Hirsch has a good blog post recently about that. But he's pretty black-pilled about what's coming for the United States. Sad news from Ireland. Priests allowed Muslims. Yeah, I just mentioned that. I mentioned that a few minutes ago. It was just like 10 miles or so from the Knox Shrine. Just crazy. No. Well, if I don't know really what I think about the 11th of September theories. The official narrative has always struck me as a little fishy, at least. But beyond that, I don't know what to think. But it is interesting, the number of interesting people who didn't survive the event, we'll say. Hypersonic weapons, not going to be fun. Well, yeah, I know that the Russians have hypersonic anti-ship missiles. Apparently hypersonic ballistic missiles, too. No, go look Vostok 2018. They when China came out with their ridiculous claim that America was the cause of the beer bug, Russia immediately came out and supported the Chinese position. Faith, hope, and charity always. Yes. Is a magnetic anomaly a huge asteroid quasicrystal? No idea. No idea. But yes, look up Vostok 2018 if you want to know about the things that I worry about. And there are some other things that I've seen that I don't know the veracity of, so I don't really comment on them publicly, but I think this is going to be bad. Ban pork exports to China. I would like America to get away from having a close relationship with China. It might have been the biggest mistake of the Nixon administration, bigger than the things that led to him having to resign. Yeah, Dean Barker, I tend to agree. With our country on lockdown, do you think we're a sitting duck? That aircraft carrier situation really has me concerned. If you're not familiar with if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's that one of the carriers out there had an outbreak and they had to shut it down. Now, I got to be careful how I talk about this stuff right now, just in general. But it's touchy subjects for our rulers. But Tyson Smith says only 70% of the restaurant industry will return. Yeah. This is why one of the things I suggest is if you can afford it, go out and support your locally owned restaurants if you can. They are absolutely hurting right now. Like a couple weeks ago, I got some Italian from a local family-run Italian place here in town. They were doing carry out only, and then delivery through the delivery apps that will, DoorDash, Grubhub kind of apps. But I went in and I ordered some food for takeout because, these are your neighbors we're talking about, right? So I do recommend if you can to support the local restaurants, to whatever degree you can. Tradcath Monarchist. I don't know if you can hear me. He probably is a patron because I did get an email. The message I got from somebody was that they thought it was April 12th to the 14th of this year. Now, if it's that date range of 2029, I don't know. 2029 is an interesting year, though, for Catholic prophecy. If you take things Sister Lucia said to their logical conclusion, I am going to do a video about what Sister Lucia said in that regard, probably in May. Did I read the Kissinger op-ed in the Wall Street Journal? No. One of the promises of the approved devotion of the precious blood out of Africa, get to be a martyr or get to the other side. Michelle, which better way to do support Patreon or other? If you can afford to be a supporter, Patreon or Subscribestar is probably or joining the channel are the best ways. If you can't afford anything like that, let an ad run when you watch a video. If everybody let one ad run, that'd be crazy. That's all I can say. Reese, was Alan Sabrowski, did he have a car accident or something after he said that? All right, Quer, you have a good night as well. I have not read much about proper courtship. I think that's a question for Trad Patrick, actually. He's been living the traditional life his whole life, so he might be a better resource for you than that. He's not a convert like I am. Is this really biowarfare? Could be. Pascal says the restaurants are doing quite well up here. Crazy busy phone orders. My side job is delivering pizza. I do it a few times a week for a very few hours, and I use the tips I get for paying bills. And I know that our place is crazy busy right now, but some of my coworkers have second jobs at some of the restaurants in town, and they're almost dead. Google account says pray the chaplet of the Holy Face. I agree. Find it if you can. Oh, Tyson Smith. Sorry, only 30% of restaurants will return. and I holding up fine, actually. My wife's a stay-at-home mom, and my main job is to work from home. So for a lot of things, my life hasn't changed that much. So we're fine for now. I don't think the Catholic Church is going to fall, and I don't think a future pope will morph it into something else. John Livingston, treat the pizza guy with delivery with respect. Yeah. Yeah, every pizza delivery driver, if you're in a state with an alternative minimum wage, they go below minimum. They go below the standard minimum wage as soon as they step out the door to bring you your food. Paulus Magnus says, don't put dates on things, too much of a stretch. Is generally a safe rule. It doesn't necessarily mean not to pay attention to those lining up of those dates, like your friend said. Sophist, yeah, see my video tomorrow, or is it tomorrow or Tuesday, about what Bill Gates is doing. Cesar Timbello, hello back to you. Could be that we're talking about subject matter right now. That's why I keep lagging. I don't know if you're heading out, Teresa. Have a good one. I'm still here if anybody else is. Otherwise, I can... Now it says no data. What is going on here? Victoria Munez, you should go check out Ascend of Mount Carmel's channel. He's got a lot of stuff on the Saint Faustina stuff. The Divine Mercy Chaplet, as long as it's not replacing your rosary, is fine, as far as I can tell. Lumdrop, happy Sunday to you as well. I'm not as holy as people think. I'm a sinner who needs to go to confession just like as much as anybody else. Is Gates really the guy? I don't know what you mean by the guy. He's not a... He's not... I don't know if anybody can even hear me at this point, but I see that the SSPX are having masses at some places in the U.S. And they're not having them all over the country. I've saw online that various SSPX chapels are closing as well. Yeah, Jeep Guy is right on that. They have canceled at least some of their public masses. Although some people said they went to mass today with the SSPX, so depends where you're at. Victoria, if you want to know about... what I would do is... One, if you can get to confession, go to confession. That's a good thing to do. Two, I would maybe pray a second rosary, read the readings for the... read the propers for the mass for each day. That might help. I do not have the stigmata. Thank you. Chris McWilliams, vote pro-life as a general rule. I have a nuanced opinion of the president. I think my favorite feature about him is how he gets the mask to slip from the Moloch worshippers. But I have a generally nuanced position. I don't really talk about the secular politics much on this channel, at least for now. CF Hewling, my suspicion about Sister Faustina is to remember that as a private revelation, the pulse that suffered in her time in an unprecedented way. Yeah, and I mean, I guess it all depends on how much do you trust the current. How much do you trust the current canonizations? I live in Oklahoma, where we've got Blessed Stanley Rother, and a lot of people, if you only get looks from Catholics, or you express any kind of doubt at all about him. Not that I have any doubt necessarily about him, but still. Would be nice if we had a new Father Coughlin or Conklin. There is a Father Coughlin or Conklin channel on YouTube where a lot of his talks are uploaded. You should do a search for it. You can find it. I approve of the rosary or the Ave Maria that's going on in the chat, by the way. Oh, pardon me. My energy drink I had this morning is definitely leaving my system at this point. I have not read the From Rome blog much. Right now we do one mystery. I've got a lot on my plate right now. I do want to get to a full rosary every day. It is a all right. I'm back. Hooray! I don't know what's going on with that. All right, Thomas Klug, you have a nice night. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I've had to unplug and plug my mic in now twice to have my audio return. But it should be back again. Michelle, I had to prove your ticked Satan off comment. I don't know why. Maybe it doesn't like ticked off, or maybe Satan. I don't know. Hairy legs. Oh, I'm trying to remember what some of my favorite nicknames for Satan have been. Excuse me again. Theodore Sieber, glad that you just tuned in. I was just asking if there are any visionaries or mystics that people would like me to cover. I've kind of already got April planned, and I already have one of my We Were Warned things for May, in my mind. Just the NWO messing with me. Yeah, if I've made their list already, I'm in trouble. Although this is going to sound weird, I need some coffee. It's a little late in the afternoon for coffee for me. I gave up coffee. Well, coffee's one of the things I gave up for Lent anyway. But I had an energy drink this morning, and it's probably leaving my system. But I don't know if it's the NWO messing with me, but I and a few others have noticed that we're starting to get a lot of people following us on Twitter who started their account this month, and they only follow like people, some people of ours who are in our sort of more angry, uptight circle, that we're sort of wondering if people are starting to pay attention to us. So I get people email or Google my name now and are reading my stuff on an academic website that isn't even worth reading because the main paper on there is something I threw together at the last minute for a conference talk. Daycare asks, how could someone object to the words of divine mercy? You have to go look at the actual formal objections. The Ascent of Mount Carmel channel really lays them out. There's a lot to do with some of the veracity of the things she said and other things that people challenge. Old Hairy Legs is your personal favorite, all his grace. We don't have a palm tree in our yard, unfortunately, so no. Has St. Joseph ever appeared anywhere? At least at Knock. I have a video on Our Lady of Knock. You should go take a look. It's a We Were Warned video. Some people took umbrage with that I looked at it as a warning video, as a warning message, but there was a lot going on there that made it sound like it was a warning from heaven. Bruno Camacholio, Our Lady of Revelation. I would do that one, and I plan to, but right now Sensus Fidelium has a spectacular, like 11 or 12 part series that's each video is like an hour long on it. But I would try to do like a 30 to 40 minute video on Our Lady of Revelation if I could distill it. I mean, you're talking about an apparition that involves a miracle of the sun that only Pius XII saw in the Vatican gardens. You're talking about the radical transformation of someone who was so wrapped up in like Protestantism that he had completely really lost the faith and was wanting to take out a pope. I mean, just crazy things. I did read out the Ottavani intervention a month ago for those who are interested. Go ahead and look it up if you want. Brat's mom, that's funny. Didn't John Vianney call Satan? No, it's only stupid. Any modern prophets I follow? Nope. I do not follow any contemporary people who are not approved by the church. It's a kind of hard stance because there's so much fraud that has gone on with these things. It would not be hard to fake a Marian apparition if it's only you and any of your collaborators in on it. It wouldn't be hard to fake one at all. All you have to do is read up on Catholic prophecy. But the problem is there's always something that gives it away. There's always like heresy that shows up with the fake ones. D's Knives, you stopped getting notifications on certain Catholic channels. I would go to those channels and click the little bell button for the notifications, the little bell that's on the lower right-hand side under the screen. If that doesn't work, I would either make a note to check their channels or see if there's other ways you can follow them. Like, I have a Facebook page for Return to Tradition. I post every video there. I post every video to my sources blog, and people can get notifications there. Those are good ways to do it. CF Hewling started using Twitter in earnest this week. Staying home all day gets boring. If you're one of the ones who followed me in the last week, send me a message, just because some of us are getting a little finding it a little weird that we've been getting follows from people who are brand new to Twitter. Old Scratch, yeah, that's another good nickname. I think most for Diary. In fact, most of the visions she reported only covers her, nobody else. Any thoughts on Medjugorje? Yeah, I think it's a con. I think it's totally fake. People say, oh, but the fruits. Well, but people who say that usually are saying, selectively choosing the fruits, because there's been a lot of evil things that have gone on in Medjugorje, and a lot of people's marriages have been destroyed by Medjugorje. So, Tyson Smith, plant potatoes. Yeah, there's a grocery store near me that sells potato starters, and I keep meaning to buy them, but I keep forgetting. I wouldn't even know how many to buy anyway, to be honest with you. Doctor Who 1980 says they stick to the Sacred Heart devotion. Defeat Modernism posted a vid comparing them. Defeat Modernism was a good channel that is kind of defunct now, in that nothing new really gets posted there. But it's yeah, go the videos there are worth catching up on if you haven't. The Trump prophecies, isn't that stuff that like Protestants say about Trump? I don't do I don't follow Protestant prophecies in the slightest. I don't have a problem with Eastern Orthodox Christians per se. I just wish they'd come to that they would, cross the Tiber. Beyond that, I don't have any problems with them per se. I just have problems when, they try to lead people out of the church. Oh. But yeah, what do you mean when you say the Trump prophecies? What do you mean? There's somebody here asked in the chat about Trump prophecies, so I'd be curious about them. Just buy a bunch of bakers, wait for eyes to appear, cut them up one eye to a chunk, and bury them in the yard. Well, maybe I'll do that. But Paul VI and JP2. I fully expect everything done since the council will be the subject of a council in the future, and including this pontificate specifically, and a bunch of other things. Until then, I will just. I have no obligation to have any particular devotion to those canonized saints. But canonizations are thought to be infallible. I say thought to be because the church has never actually formally declared them as such. Mr. Joy, it's funny how Our Lady of Medjugorje decided to stop her revelations to practice social distancing. Yeah. Thoughts on Father Gregory Hess? I find Father Hess very, very entertaining. I plan to do a video about him in the future. Prophecies, unlikely, yeah. The stairway is amazing. Had to be St. Joseph Architects. What is this staircase of St. Joseph you're talking about? Is there a specific name about it? The Loretto Chapel. Trump prophecies by the Hermit of Loretta. All right, I got to see this. What a Catholic holy man prophesies about Donald Trump. What? Oh, it's from the Stine report. There's a podcast about that. If that's a current one, I'll either be president who would return America to God. Let's see. I'm just going to read this for you guys. In 2016, God did not desert America. February 18, 2017, First Lady Melania Trump led the audience in the Lord's Prayer at a rally in Florida. The following day, Father Giacomo Capoverde shared a fascinating story about the Hermit of Loretto who predicted the Donald Trump presidency back in the 1980s. And that's all this website has. Where is this prophecy at? Oh, I guess I have to click read more. Let's see what happens. Nope. It's a spam website. Oh well. Well, again, I don't put much stock in modern prophets. Remember, one of the signs our Lord said of the times would be a great number of false prophets out there. So, I don't put much stock into anybody the church hasn't approved, and I especially don't put stock into anybody who isn't a Catholic making prophecies. The Loretto Chapel. I'll have to look into that. Brian O'Connor, though JP2 said St. Christopher was in the sandwich I've always found odd. And see, there's a problem there, like, if canonizations are infallible, then everybody the church calls a saint has to have existed. We don't, play games with how that works. We have to accept it. How do you become a tractor symbol? Well, if you understand the code word what they're using the word tractor as code for. Is the Christus Rex channel still around, KPN 5000? Because I looked for it recently and I couldn't find it. So if you can find it, put a link to like a video of theirs in the chat and I'll approve it. I have more live stream followers than most NO masses online. I was a little surprised that there were only 200 people on that Institute Christ the King Sovereign Priest during the consecration. Kim Clement was a prophet. He passed away. He saw Trump was chosen. I'm amazed at the things going on in this in this presidency right now. I'm just amazed at some of the things that are going on, and just how all of a sudden people are seeing just how demonic like the Moloch worshippers really are. Beyond that, I've got nuanced opinions about the president. Thanks to KPN 5000, you've been looking for info on Father Hest. We'll check out Christus Rex. Yeah, if that channel's still good, because I tried to find it and I couldn't find it recently. Candidate for 2024 to look into is Daryl Kane. I don't know. I've never heard of him. Apparently Trump's name was placed in a wall at the Vatican. I don't know what that means. According to the Fatima Center, the Vatican said they were canonizing JP2 in spite of his papacy, which is extremely confusing. Again, I fully expect this papacy and this in the conciliar and post-conciliar era will have to be addressed in the future by a council convened by a pope acting at his direction. Probably after the chastisement, if I had to guess, given the kind of time frame I think we're operating on now. Charles Dachau did the drawings, Google Images. All right, let me see what happens if I have BitChute as many fallen channels. That's why I have to be careful what I talk about in the chat, guys. Like, a lot of people don't understand that before all the things went with the thing that should not be went down and started tearing society apart. My channel was throttled by our glorious hosts. It was only when they put everything onto basically on their censorship on autopilot, and they really scaled it back, but really ratcheted it up on very specific topics, which I've learned not to talk about. That I've been okay. Any lost penitents nailing themselves to crosses here? Not that I've heard of. New York reality TV host rips mask off. New World Order. God works in mysterious ways, and that's awesome. Yeah, there's an interesting homily on Sensus Fidelium from a priest about that from back in 2016. It's definitely interesting, to say the least. There are some who argue that the canonization of JP2 proves that canonizations are not infallible. Well, again, we'll probably see the. We'll have to see what the church says in the future if we manage to survive. Can you elaborate on the concerns of JP2? You've heard of some. Well, the Assisi conferences are the first. That's the easiest one. There's also some other things, but the Assisi ones are very, very disturbing. I don't want a Vatican III. I'd like a second Council of Trent, personally. Do I watch Blue Collar TV channel? Nope. Did I have a date on when the herbs would be posted on Sources blog? I'm trying to find like a listing for them. Paulus Magnus Maximus. I have a BitChute channel. I occasionally upload a video there and then do a 1 to 2 minute video here saying, hey, this is where you can find it. I did that with a Saturday video because I read the what we'll call the James Martin Lifestyle Manifesto, and I put it there for Saturday as a weird sort of twist on a Saturday video. And I've done a story, one of my They're Coming for Your Children stories videos up there. Is the 3 Days of Darkness coming anytime soon? Depends on how you define soon. I don't think it's coming this year, though. Well, Sister Lucia had passed away before John Paul II was canonized, as I understand it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. That's if you accept that that's what was actually Lucia who said that. Lucia never used a typewriter or a computer in her life, and then all of a sudden she always hand wrote things, and all of a sudden came out with a typed statement. I'm skeptical. And accepting that consecration doesn't mean it was accepting the consecration of Russia, because he did not consecrate Russia. None of the promises of Fatima came to pass with that consecration. What is my opinion on Leo XIII's prophecy of Satan's century? I think it started in about 1917 to 1920. His vision of his alleged vision of the discourse between our Lord and Satan happened 33 years to the day of one of the Fatima apparitions. So, there you go. Brian O'Connor, that is actually my problem with most current canonizations, is the people hadn't been gone long enough to really have it be a true cultus and not just popularity. Living Purgatory has a good response about the JP2 thing. He consecrated the world, not Russia, and that is very different. Who's buying the new Fatima movie? I have no idea. I only heard about the new Fatima movie recently. I don't know if I'm going to go watch it or not. Probably eventually. Well, KPN 5000. If you have a way to get them downloaded, if you want to send them to me, I might be able to find a way to put them online. Bill Casey said he believes the 100-year Satan being loosed upon Earth had ended. I don't know. I don't know that much about Bill Casey. I don't think the 100 years has ended yet. I think that's still going on. Pascal, thanks for the super chat. Any thoughts on Vatican III? What it might be about, if anything? If there is a Vatican III, and if you mean that by a future council in the church, I think the next one will probably be to correct the errors of what's going on, unless the prophesized evil council that you hear Father or Canon Hess talk about in some of his talks from the 1980s and 90s, unless the evil council that he talked about hasn't come to pass yet. Because if you caught in my We Were Warned video on the 3 Days of Darkness, Marie Julie Jahenny said that there would be a pope who would be recalcitrant of his own errors at a council, or he would call the bishops to a meeting or something, and he would basically try to get them to repent of their modernism, and they would basically say no and say that they weren't subject to him anymore. Which I guess would in the end make the consecration to Russia very easy to pull off, because the number of bishops who would be in union with him become very small. And if I've seen some people ask me lately if I think that could be Francis, and maybe it will be. I don't know. If that's him, then you might see a very strange situation. Let me put it to you this way: if you see some sort of institutional crisis in the church happen, with Cardinal Burke and Schneider and Cardinal Sarah and all the rest siding unequivocally with Pope Francis after he calls all the bishops and priests of the church to be to repentance, at that point I would start trying to get a bomb shelter made or something. I wouldn't be skeptical of Fulton Sheen becoming a saint. I'd be I don't want him being I didn't actually want him canonized, honestly, in this current environment. I'd like things to be cleared up before that happens. My email, there's an email address listed in the description of every one of my videos. Go ahead and find it there, and you can send me an email, KPN5000, and we can figure out a way to get those files. I would hope that Vatican III wouldn't be a synod. Fulton Sheen apparently did fall in with the modernists, but apparently also towards the end he sort of started sounding like his old self again. Vatican III, the Search for Christ. I don't know if Francis will get canonized. Depends on how much longer we have until things really fall apart on the international scene. Tyson Smith says there were no cultists to Paul VI or JP2 prior to the canonizations. I knew a lot of people who were enamored with John Paul II. So I think there was a cultist for John Paul II, but there definitely wasn't one for Paul VI. I don't know who Barbara Lerner Spector is, if you want to elaborate on that. If there's an Italian civil war, that could start things with France as well. Have you been paying attention to the news out of Italy? Like, things are getting bad there. Oh, Christus Rex was terminated. I wonder if the person who owned it deleted the channel, or if he got hit with copyright strikes because of his My Little Pony video, or if he got hit, or if he got a hit with, like, hate speech or something. That's why I use so much code. Yeah, if you want to go see if Christus Rex is on Vimeo or on BitChute. It wouldn't surprise me. Father Hess remastered lectures. I hope that there is some Father Hess material out there. That would be lovely. Let's see. I'm going to just do a Google search for the Christus Rex channel. Ave Christus Rex. What is this? Alright, what is Ave Christus Rex? Well, it's 2 years old, and none of the videos there are controversial, so... And then Christus Rex, the channel. When you Google it... Oh, hello, what is this? Oh... No... Not the right thing. There's like a Sarah Silverman tribute there, so definitely not the right thing. Christus Rex on Gloria TV. What's this? Has no posts yet, but that might actually be the right one. Oh well, it's unfortunate. Plum drop. Wait, what about My Little Pony? I have a video. I can't remember which one it is, where I used a clip from a Christus Rex video, where there was a version of the Gloria that had the same tune as the My Little Pony theme song. I'm dead serious, and I played it. I used a clip from a Christus Rex video in my video with his permission. I emailed him, and yeah, it's spooky. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Tyson Smith. I wonder how Vox Day knows that Bill Gates didn't vaccinate his children. Church Mill cut the axe from Vimeo for hate speech. Ooh. Vimeo also doesn't want to do much about politics either. Boris Johnson's in the hospital. That means his thing that should not be case has gotten bad. Thank you, KPN 5000. I will look forward to that email. I will try to figure out what to do with it. Maybe I'll put them up on the BitChute channel, or see if I can figure out how to start a channel that's not tied to mine with just Father Hess Talks. Can't find Christus on BitChute. Oh, maybe he's gone. I found something called Christus Rex on Gloria TV, but we'll see. Trojan Horse in the City of God by Dietrich von Hildebrand. That book is hard to find, apparently. I think it's been out of print for like 30 years. Did I hear about the actor who fell through the floorboards? It's okay, he's going through a stage. What about all these new atheist channels promulgating? There's a lot of atheist channels out there. I mean, some of the kind of like classical liberal commentators that are actually not terrible are, a lot of them are atheists and have learned to go from hating religion to realizing that, Christians are going to be their best allies for trying to restore sanity to the culture. But like overtly atheist channels where they attack religion, I mean, Satan's henchmen are out there, right? Thoughts on Marshall framing the Pachamama and making it a sin? What do you mean? Making it a sin? I don't know what you mean. Boris and Prince Charlie laying side by side. The Pachamama thing is a sin, meaning like dumping the idols into the river. Any of us probably would have done it, so I don't think it was a sin to dump the idols in the river. But like, you know, bowing before idols, yeah, that's a sin. Assisi was probably... Paulus Maximus says Assisi was a sin. Yeah, I mean, probably. Yeah, Paulus Magnus is right. It used to be that we couldn't pray with members of other religions. Catholic Church outlawed that. And now we live in the age of ecumenism. Whenever you see an impure channel reported for hate, they hate God. You can find pornography on YouTube. If you find it, report it. It's actually a violation of the terms of service. So if people are doing pornographic things on their channels, it's a violation of the terms of service. How can you find my My Little Pony video? Maybe do a search on the search bar on my channel for My Little Pony and see what happens. See if that pulls up something. It's an older video, so the audio quality is going to be garbage, but it's if you can find it, it's at least a year old. Do I have connections with TFP America? I have no connections with almost any Catholic organization. I've Tradition Family Property. I've read a little bit about them. I don't know enough about them other than to know that they have some controversy around them, but I don't know what it is. The people were bowing to it at Assisi. Yeah, you can't. Idolatry is a sin. You can't be doing that stuff. Dr. Marshall planned the event in the light. I have a general rule of not commenting on other Catholic content creators on my channel. It's just a personal rule of mine. It's a promise I made actually to God when I started this and realized that there was a chance that I might actually do okay at this, that I would avoid at all costs inter-commentator drama. I'll let other people do it. Sorry if that's not a satisfactory answer, but that was a promise I made to God a couple years ago. Tradcat Night YouTube said has several Father Hess videos posted on. Yeah, Tradcat Night doesn't post much anymore except for like commercials for his website, but he does have, if you go through his archives, he's got Father Hess on there all over the place. Pope Agatha I, he who prays with the heretic is a heretic. Yeah, it was and is the law of the church. The law of the church can't really change. Tridentine Crusader post Father Hess stuff. Nice. If you're looking for Father Hess, go look for it. I just warn you, he is a character who does not put up with things. Like he did not like John Paul II in the slightest. He was also the main promoter of the suppressed part of the Lost Salette message of the two worm-ridden popes, and he kind of hinted that he thought John Paul II was one of them. Makes me wonder what he would think about Pope Francis. Yeah, Condi, I know about the circular firing squad can be depressing. It's I don't know. I let the audience. I try not to think for my audience, and if I try to influence people and get into like this clique stuff, I'm just not into it. Obscuring, I understand. I've been watching that situation. I understand where people are coming from on all sides of it. I try not to know people's motives, but still. Thomas Keller, yeah, there's a suppressed part of that message of Our Lady of Lost Light where there would be two worm-ridden popes. I have no guess on who they are, though. Beth Watkins, the problem is that JP2 was there when the idol to Buddha was placed in front of the empty tabernacle. He was there in the room. That's well documented. Yeah, Tyson, I have a blessed palm still in my, here in my home office actually from last year. I kept forgetting to take it back to my parish. Maybe that was, divine intervention or something. Brad's mom knew a Byzantine priest who was called on the carpet because he wouldn't pray with an Orthodox priest at a wake. Told the bishop he had a problem with his conscience. He was persecuted. Wow. There's 3.5 gigabytes of Father Hess lectures uploading to the email attachment now. These masters are excellent as most all background noise is removed. YT vids of Father Hess are barely audible. Okay, I'm gonna have a chat with some of my with some people I know who share my love of Father Hess, and I will see about finding a way to get those uploaded. All right, how long have I been on anyway? Let me see what Streamlabs says. It doesn't say. All right, well, I think I'm going to call it here. It's time to probably get started with, late afternoon or leaving stuff with the family. I can hear my son, babbling in the living room. So, St. Clair's in Portland blessed the palms yesterday morning and had them on a table outside to be picked up whenever. That's cool. This morning I watched Archbishop Sample's Angelus. I at least watched his part of the Angelus. I didn't watch the rest of it. But if you're not following him on Facebook or on Fedbook, you can. He live streams some things, so he might be worth following. But yeah, I think I'm going to call it here because it's starting to get late here. So y'all have a nice afternoon, and I'll probably see you all next Sunday. We're probably right around this time. Like I said, I'm planning for the week after Easter to have a couple guests. Still working out the details on that. But I'll see you on Easter Sunday, and God bless.